Hey everybody, Neil here at the Denver Folklore Center. I've got some very interesting 20s and 40s Gibson archtops for you today. These are some of the incredible vintage guitars we've got here at the Denver Folklore Center. Today I've been playing a little bit of Linda Ronstadt on this 1925 Gibson L-4. So this is just after Lloyd Loar left the factory in 1924, but they were still making these guitars and the mandolins up to Loar specifications for another 4 or 5 years pretty much and after Lloyd Loar left the factory. This particular one is a 16-inch archtop. It's got a 25-inch scale length, and the body joint is at the 12th fret instead of the 14th fret. And this is all original, and it's very rare to see guitars like this in original condition, specifically with the pickguard. You know, most of the times these pickguards disintegrate over time, but this one has been kept in immaculate condition. The really lovely spruce top, the birch back and sides, which was very common for the time. They were using that from the 19-teens up until, honestly, the early 1940s for things like the L-30. They're lesser expensive guitars, but at this point they were using birch for their high-end guitars as well. Mahogany neck, ebony bridge, ebony fingerboard, and of course the Gibson logo on the headstock. It's got a nut that's just under 1 3/4, but that's sort of offset by this big V-neck, which is very characteristic of Gibsons of the time. I can move it on now, switch it out with this guitar here. This is a 1946 Gibson L7. Now, this is essentially Gibson's attempt at making a slightly more player-friendly and budget-friendly model in the 1940s. So the L5 had been around for 20 years at this point, making the L7 with slightly different inlays. It's got the split block inlays and a rosewood fingerboard as opposed to ebony, but it still has the spruce top, and like the L5 as well, it's got maple back and sides. The L7s usually came with this brown finish as opposed to the sunburst back finish. This also has a 1 3/4 nut. This is also an incredible guitar. It's got that great archtop sort of punch and like a sling to it that I really enjoy. And then I've got this guitar right here, which is a 1943 banner year L50. So the L50 was the lower end of Gibson's archtop production. This, along with the L30, which is a smaller body, were both sort of Gibson's attempt to make an affordable, accessible archtop in the late 1930s, onto the mid-1950s, basically. At this point in their production, they were either using mahogany or birch for back and sides. This particular one has a birch back and side, which is very good looking, I will say, and in a spruce top as well. And unlike other archtops of the era, this has a glued-on neck fretboard extension. So instead of being floating like most archtops, this is glued onto the top, which makes it feel a little more like a flat-top guitar in a way that's accessible to a lot of players who don't normally play archtops. Got a rosewood fingerboard, Brazilian rosewood because it's from the 40s, as well as a Brazilian rosewood bridge. This is a new tailpiece and new set of tuners. As always, a lot of these guitars, the tuners sort of come in very crumbly. So, you know, it's a new set of tuners on there that are perfectly functional. 1 3/4 nut, a lovely worn-in neck. This guitar, along with all these others, are here only for a limited time. You know, we got them when we got them. So if you're looking for something like this, give us a call, and we'll be glad to help you out. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next time.